We should be live. Keyword is should be. That's if StreamYard's working the way it should. Everything's being posted now. This overlay is covering like half my face, so I'm gonna have to lower that. Mic's all set up and we're good. Hope everybody's having a good night. We're going to kind of go through the first little wave of comments here. Oh, side of my face is a little dark. I'll just have this thing turned on. And I'll probably gonna have to turn off the ringer on my Mac. I hope everybody's doing well. Aiden, hope you're doing well. So there have been rumors about Gio and the Yankees. I'm not necessarily sure if the Yankees and Gio Urshela are going to have a reunion. I'm not sure if it's, I'm not saying it's like GM talk or like, agent talk. It's definitely not. It's definitely more than that. The Athletic doesn't really talk about things unless it's pretty substantial. So I would say there is probably some substantial evidence for this. I don't know if Cashman hates Peraza. I feel like that's a strong word, but I don't think they share confidence in Oswald Peraza. They're on the roster. They haven't showed that confidence since he's been here. He's been on the 40-man roster for 3 years now, and they haven't shown that confidence. In 2022, I believe was the first year he was on the 40-man. Obviously, you didn't expect him to break camp with the team, even though IKF was the starting shortstop, and he wasn't coming in as an all-star or whatever, but Oswald Peraza had played like 10 games in AAA and was not extremely effective there and wasn't considered like a top of the notch, like, a top 10 prospect the way Anthony Volpe was. So it made sense that he didn't come up. Now in 2022, midway through the season, towards the end of the season, it was weird the way they used him. So I'm just going to sit here and say, like, I don't think it's hate, but I think they don't really enjoy the idea of starting or playing Oswald Peraza. And, ultimately, I'm not sure. I don't see Oswald Peraza having a long-term future with the team. He's out of minor league options. And being out of minor league options is kind of a death sentence if you're not already a starting caliber player, because the team can't really afford to give you opportunities. It's like the Yankees can start Peraza every day at third. But at the same time, it's also like they can't send him down. They have to use him on the bench. Perhaps they feel they can get more value out of him now on the trade market than if they try to use him, which, it might be a little short-sighted. Perhaps there is more value to him than the Yankees believe, but the Yankees have a pretty good track record of like, hey, we don't think this guy's good, and they don't end up being very good. If you notice when the Yankees trade players away, they don't really trade players that are like impact players. Jordan Montgomery is kind of like the exception to that, but they knew that they were trading an impact player. Whereas with Peraza, I think they'd be trading him knowing that he just doesn't really have a future here. A team I could see as a target would be the San Francisco Giants. The San Francisco Giants openly need a shortstop. There have been reports that have come out of them wanting to acquire a shortstop. Brandon Crawford, I believe, has departed or is going to depart in free agency, not because he's going to get a lot of interest on the market, but because I just don't think they want to bring him back. He's washed, for lack of better words. Ultimately, I just don't think that I think that the Giants have a surplus of like solid AAA pitching. I think that's a flyer that they'd be willing to take. He's a good defensive infielder. He's fast. I don't really know if the New York Yankees, are in a position where they should be saying no to any pitching at this point. We're going to get to this in a bit, but the Yankees don't really have a lot of pitching options, or at least a lot of realistic ones. I also like this perspective from Trevor talking about Urshela, where, he is a guy that doesn't have great game power. His base running is not very good, and his defense is not elite. So you are signing a player who doesn't really provide much value on the surface. I would agree too. Like, if you're signing Gio Urshela and Peraza still on the roster, it doesn't make much sense. Like, the value gap between Peraza in 2024 and Urshela in 2024 coming off of a pelvis surgery probably isn't massive. It might actually lean towards Peraza's manner because of the fact that, Oswald Peraza is a good defensive shortstop. Urshela cannot provide you that value. He can play he can play second base. Urshela has not played second base much in his MLB career. Now for Everson Pereira, I do think there's going to be some interest in him. Everson Pereira does have a pretty good power bat. The defense in left field is good. The speed is pretty good. He's a good athlete. He does a lot of things really well on that front. He just can't put the ball in play, which I know that's a big if. That's a big, it's just one tool. But it is truly just one tool. And, ultimately, I do believe that Everson Pereira is a younger guy. I mean, he's 22 years old. He'll be entering his age 23 season. And I think there's probably a world where, somebody thinks, hey, this is the next Jose Siri, right? Like a guy who doesn't make a lot of contact. He makes better swing decisions than Jose Siri. Doesn't play a premier defensive position like Jose Siri does, but maybe they view him as that. Maybe a team views him as like hey, this guy can hit like 30 home runs, hit around 230, 240 for us. That's the type of guy he could be. He can't play some center field, so that's value as well. I think if the Guardians were really like Everson Pereira, then the Yankees could potentially headline him in a deal for a guy like Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber is on 1 year. The Yankees need starting pitching, and I don't think the Yankees are interested in giving out long multi-year deals for guys that they don't think are that valuable. And I will talk about this a little bit with the pitching, but I'm not sure if the Yankees have a plan in place. I think they really thought they were going to get Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and they didn't. And I think now they're just kind of like, we don't need to spend the money we had allotted to Yamamoto, especially on players we don't think are that good or are worth that money. And this pitching market has become very inflated. So there's that. New year, new Yankees. They better spend money and get 2 quality starting pitchers. I'd be okay with Monty in a trade for Bieber. That would be good. And signing Jordan Hicks for the bullpen. So, personally, I don't see the New York Yankees going for Monty, Hicks, and Bieber as all of them. I don't think the Yankees are going to be getting Jordan Montgomery unless the market falls for him. It could fall for him. He could fall in market value, but Evan P. Grant, the Texas Rangers beat reporter, reported that, or not reported, I guess he guessed, or he said based on what he's heard, he thinks he's still going to be around $150 million for 6 years. I wouldn't probably see the Yankees paying $150 million for 6 years for Jordan Montgomery. That's $25 million a year for a pitcher. They could have gone. I mean, I don't know if they could have gone more for Yamamoto, ended up with him. But are you evaluating Montgomery at $5 million less than Yamamoto per year? And also you're having now 3 starters who are past their age 30 season, who are going to be on, 9-figure contracts. And that's something that could limit the Yankees down the road. It could affect their ability to pursue Juan Soto. It could affect their ability to pursue other players on the market. It could affect their ability to, reset the luxury tax, things that are going to matter at some point. I understand that we want to go all in. I think the Yankees should go all in. But I think all in is different than, saying, all right, the New York Yankees should go out. The New York Yankees should go out and try to, kind of close their window. I feel like that's the situation you want to avoid. When you close a team's window, that's where I think the Yankees won't go that far. Like, you trade away Spencer Jones, your window's closing pretty soon. You don't have a center fielder. If you start wheeling and dealing like that, you do close your window really fast. And if you're closing a window like that, this isn't really a sport where you can do that. This isn't really football. This isn't basketball. This is definitely not basketball, in which, in basketball, you can say, all right, let's go trade for Kevin Durant and let's screw the future. Like, Kevin Durant will consistently put us in a position where we're going to be going on deep playoff runs. The signing LeBron James, for example. The Lakers signed LeBron James. Now they're finals contenders, right? Like, instantaneously, they immediately get back to contention. There isn't really a player that does that for you. There's no way to guarantee it in baseball. The best teams in basketball usually win. The best teams in baseball almost never consistently win the World Series. The Dodgers only have 1 World Series title over the last 7 or 8 years. The Astros only have 2. They've been beaten by teams like the Washington Nationals in 2019 or the 2021 Atlanta Braves without Ronald Acuna Jr. and with Charlie Morton breaking his leg in like the second start or the second game of the series. The Dodgers have been beaten by, a Diamondbacks team that didn't really look all that good on paper. They've been beat by a Padres team that they mollywop for an entire regular season. That's just kind of how baseball works. So I'm not saying you shouldn't go all in. I'm not saying the Yankees should be penalized for going all in. What I am saying is that the New York Yankees are in a situation where they play a sport where going all in usually doesn't yield the results you're looking for. So that's kind of the situation they're in right now. How's the New Year, Ryan? I want some news. Please, Jack Curry, give us something. I hope Jack Curry does give us something and had a pretty good New Year's, Aiden. Spring training starts in 6 weeks. Yep, it does. I'm very excited for spring training. Winter goes by fast. Yeah, there is a lot that still is yet to be decided. The Yankees currently don't have a 5th starter, so we'll see how that goes. Moving on a little bit, Tyler says, "What's up? Hope you're doing well, Tyler." Trevor says, "Hello." John Rockford goes, "I hope they bring back Gio. If it's at a cheap enough cost, I can't be mad at it. But, again, it has to be coupled with Oswald Peraza getting traded for a pitcher that helps you. Even if Peraza is dealt for, like, I don't know, like AAA depth, like a guy who's a pretty solid AAA starter and can maybe do something for you at the major league level, like someone who's a step up from like a Cody Morris, but like a step down from like, I would say like somewhere between Cody Morris and like, I don't know, like Cody Morris and a Will Warren, like somewhere a little closer to Will Warren than Cody Morris, of course. But I think that's kind of what you're getting here. A guy I would target, Mason Black of the San Francisco Giants, I think is a great fit for the Yankees. Sinker sweeper type of guy. Can get strikeouts. Has some command issues, but nothing crazy. The type of guy that the Yankees could certainly get solid starts out of. And is only, I believe, 25 years old and has already been in AAA. Projects pretty well. That's the type of guy I would trade for. If I could trade Peraza and kind of reading what the market thinks he's valued at, I think that kind of makes sense. Other than pitching, what needed? What hitters do we need to maybe, if room for them? If they could add a third baseman, Aiden, that would be great. I don't think they're going to add a third baseman. I don't think there are any on the market that necessarily entice them. And end of the day, I don't think that the New York Yankees are in a position where they should be paying Matt Chapman. Like I love the profile that's Matt Chapman. I really do. I love the profile. I think he's a really, really, really excellent defender, and his bat is not that bad, but he's going to command a nine-figure deal, and he comes to the qualifying offer. So there's draft ramifications, international free agent ramifications, with Roki Sasaki potentially hitting the market next year. And there, of course, I know the Yankees are rich, but there are payroll implications as well. So I'm not necessarily sold on them going out and finding a bat. Cody Bellinger, you just traded for Alex Verdugo. You didn't trade for him, and the Yankees didn't show that interest in him just to deal him. I like Trent Grisham as our fourth outfielder. Obviously, you're not touching Soto or Judge. Stanton, you have to at least give him a chance to figure it out, regardless of how unconfident I am in his performance next year, because I don't think hitters of his caliber or hitters of his, play style, or I guess of his body type, age particularly well. But yeah, there really isn't room for bats, like big time bats, expensive bats on the market. Happy New Year, big dog. Hope you get to grow a few more inches. Finally reach 5'3". Yeah, no, he's the best fit for the. I don't think that the Yankees are going to get Dylan Cease. If I think a comparison here would be if you let Canada and the United States get into an arms race, the United States is going to crush Canada. If you let the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles get into a prospect race in terms of position players, the Orioles are going to crush the Yankees in that regard. They've done an excellent job, and obviously they've had more premium draft picks. They've rebuilt. They've done all those things. But I don't see the Yankees going out and getting Dylan Cease or outbidding a team like the Orioles. A team you would also have to think about, the Red Sox, right? The Red Sox are clearly, the Red Sox are clearly trying to get starting pitching. I don't know how aggressive they'll be in terms of monetary assets or, in terms of trading prospects, but they do have a better core of young position player talent than that. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a matter of the New York Yankees don't want to get Dylan Cease, don't want to get better. It's a matter of how much can the Yankees trade in comparison to the Orioles for Dylan Cease, and how willing are the Brewers going to be to entertain Corbin Burns talks? That's how I view it. So yeah, that's how I think. So moving on here, let's see what other comments we have. I stand by my. Oh, we talked about this. We constantly give the kids away. Let them come up and play. Look, I thought Oswald Peraza should have been given a longer leash at shortstop. I definitely feel that way. But at the same time, how can I sit here and say that the New York Yankees should start him at third base over LeMahieu? LeMahieu is an okay major league player. You kind of need security in that regard at third base. Now, is Peraza depth? Absolutely. Does Jorbit Vivas get into the equation at some point? Absolutely. Does Oswaldo Cabrera somehow, get reps there? Yes. The Yankees are going to have a turnstile at third base. I don't think LeMahieu is going to stay healthy all year. I don't think Rizzo's going to stay healthy all year. I don't think Stanton's going to stay healthy all year. One of those three guys are going to get on the IL at some point. So, guys will shuffle around. If Rizzo goes down, LeMahieu goes to first. If Stanton goes down, maybe, you see, Soto in at the DH spot. I guess LeMahieu would stay at third. But, you would see Grisham get involved in the conversation in the outfield. If LeMahieu went down, obviously you don't have a third baseman. You need to bring up Vivas, or you need to play Peraza, or you need to play Cabrera there. But the thing really, for me at least, and for the New York Yankees, is that Peraza hasn't really proven that he's a consistent major leaguer, and you can't really provide him guaranteed opportunities, which is the big issue here. You can't guarantee him opportunities. You can't guarantee he's going to play every day. You can't guarantee that he's going to get the time to adjust to major league pitching, and that's the conundrum. And if he keeps not playing, and if he keeps not getting better, and if he keeps kind of, at playing every 3 days, his value is non-existent. They have to kind of figure it out now. I think they have to decide, are we going to start you or are we going to trade you? And if they're not going to start him, they have to consider trading him. They have to heavily consider it. I still think he'll be a solid shortstop somewhere. Good defender. I think the bat will be good enough. I think the base running's good. Or not, maybe that's the base running decisions. Sometimes those are sloppy at the major league level, but the speed is great, and I think he'll iron it out with, again, a consistent stretch of playing time. But the Yankees have a defense for a shortstop, and Volpe has a higher offensive ceiling. And honestly, I think Volpe is just a better player. Right? I think Volpe is a better player than Oswald Peraza. So I have no problem with the Yankees doing that. I think Jorbit Vivas, in terms of, what he can be for you next year, I think he has a chance to blossom into a really nice player. He's also left-handed. So, I'm not upset at the Yankees, saying, hey, we don't really know what Peraza's role is going to be going forward. Let's trade him. Like that's how I view it. So yeah. Each day, it looks like realistically that Bellinger could fall into the Yankees' lap since his market's a major ghost town. Plus, the Yankees can't afford to play Judge in center field every day. That's why they brought in Trent Grisham. They didn't bring in Trent Grisham. They didn't bring in Trent Grisham. They didn't bring in Trent Grisham just to sit there. Like, they didn't bring in Trent Grisham just to trade him. They didn't do the same. Like, Verdugo and Grisham were players that he brought in to help their team. They didn't bring them in to kind of hold on to them and flip them in a different deal. The Yankees aren't signing Cody Bellinger. He isn't taking a one-year deal. He's on a qualifying offer. I don't think teams would even offer him a one-year deal. You're giving away draft compensation for that. That is important to teams. I don't think the Yankees would view 1 year of Cody Bellinger as like worth a second-round pick. Maybe they would. I mean, I don't know, but that's like multiple picks. And then again, international free agent money in a market that could include Roki Sasaki next year. Like, Roki Sasaki could be not posted, but he could opt out of his contract and try to go sign a major league deal. And it wouldn't be an expensive contract either. It would actually be very affordable for the Yankees because he would be going through service time. He'd be going through his 6 years of service time, 3 years of no ARB, 3 years of like the league minimum type stuff, and then 3 years of arbitration. You get 6 years of Roki Sasaki at rookie contract value. That is surplus value. That exceeds any value that Cody Bellinger has in the market, especially on a 1 year deal. We are only getting that 1 year of Cody Bellinger. You can't recoup that international free agent money. You can't recoup the draft picks. I think you've got to just sit back and say, all right, I know that Cody Bellinger, he could be a good player. He helps you in center field, sure. But the Yankees have Aaron Judge. The Yankees have Alex Verdugo. The Yankees have Juan Soto. The Yankees are going to figure out center field at some point during the middle of the season. And if somebody gets hurt, which somebody will get hurt, it happens every year with the Yankees. The team you are on opening day, or the team you are in spring training, is not the team you are on opening day. In spring training, you had Rodon, they had Cortez, they had Severino, they had Bader, and all of those guys got hurt before opening day even began. So you have to look at it from the perspective of they need to have guys ready and bodies available for when injuries happen, because they're going to happen. It's just baseball. So that's how I view it. I don't think they're looking at these players and saying, yeah, these guys are not guys that we're looking at and saying they're expendable. But that's just me. We'll see. Trade for Bieber, sign Monty and Jordan Hicks. Would that be enough? And Angelo the Cookie, more than enough. Like, it would clearly make the Yankees, arguably the best team in the American League, one of the 3 best teams in baseball. But yeah, like, I don't think you can possibly complain about this. Like, you can't complain about this type of offseason, but I don't really know if the Yankees are going to handle it the way that I just don't think the Yankees are going to spend that type of money. I don't think that they're going to spend $300 million, basically $30 million through 2024 on Monty and Hicks. Might even be more than that. Might be like Bieber, Monty, and Hicks adds about closer to $50 million to your payroll. I don't think the Yankees are doing that personally. Julito, and to clarify before I get to Julito's question, that would bring their payroll to like $330 million. It's just not happening. That's just not happening. Julito goes, New York Yankees need to do a 6-man pitching rotation. The issue I have with that is it means fewer starts with Garrett Cole, and I don't like that. I want Garrett Cole pitching as much as possible because that wins you as many games as you want. Like, that means wins you a ton of games. He's reliable. He's everything you need him to be. It also throws him off his rhythm that could affect him for the long term. I don't see a reason where the Yankees are going to go out and run a 6-man rotation unless they're 6-manning everybody else. And that's still a tricky situation. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but I don't think they're going to run a 6-man next year. I think that would have been the case if they signed Yamamoto. Perhaps that's the case if they signed Imanaga, but instead of a 6-man, I think they might just push a day back on a guy or say, all right, Imanaga, you're going to pitch next time through or something like that. I don't think they would go full on 6-man. But yeah, let's see. Trade for Bieber should likely, I think he's their top. He should be their top trade candidate for sure. He's clearly better than everybody else in terms of just like assessing value, market value, assessing how much you're going to have to trade to get him. He's the best fit. Clark Schmidt, Will Warren, and Luis Seal battle for the fifth starter spot in the rotation in spring training. Here's the thing. Clark Schmidt is the 4 starter. Like, he's locked in as the 4 starter right now. They would need to sign another starter for that to become a battle. If they were to trade for Shane Bieber, I would openly encourage the Yankees to have a competition between Clark Schmidt and Will Warren. I think Clark Schmidt would win that competition. I think Clark Schmidt is a solid young pitcher, but I think Will Warren deserves a chance to fight for a rotation spot, regardless of who the Yankees add. He is pretty damn good, to say the very least. He is pretty damn good. The stuff is good. I have a video coming out on him tomorrow. I love his profile. I love everything he brings to the table. Luis Seal, less certain about him as a starter for a myriad of reasons. Most notably, injuries. He's so injury prone. And look, I'm not saying that to say that he can never stay healthy. It's one injury, but you have to look at it from the perspective of he's going from not throwing in 2000 for most of 2022 and for most of 2023, and then saying, here are 5-inning outings, 6-inning outings. Go get him. That's a little much. I think the Yankees let him sit in AAA for a little bit, get his reps together, figure stuff out. Perhaps he comes back stronger than ever. That'd be great. His stuff is excellent, but I think he'll be more of a reliever than a starting pitcher, at least at this point. Baby Goat goes, Ride God. Baby Goat, hope you're doing well, my man. Ralphie Salas says, if you had a final decision, who would you sign? Or which guy would you sign? Hicks or Hader, and Monty or Snell? Also, would you rather trade for Bieber, Burns, or Cease? I'd rather sign Hicks than Hader, adjusting for cost. Now, who makes you better? Josh Hader, but not by $20 million. Or it's going to be $11 million more than Jordan Hicks. Is their value going to be different by $11 million over the next 5 years, like consistently every single year? I'm not exactly sure. And also, there's more opportunity cost with Hader. There's more that you have to – there's less that you can do by signing Josh Hader outside of him than if you sign Jordan Hicks. For Monty and Snell, at the same price point, I would go Blake Snell. But based on what their price points are likely going to be, I would go Jordan Montgomery. And then if I would rather trade for Bieber or Burns or Cease, I would rather trade for for Corbin Burns, just like straight up, who's the best pitcher in that group. But in terms of adjusting for price, I think Shane Bieber makes the most sense. I also don't think Corbin Burns is getting moved. Dylan Cease is on the bottom of my list. I think Dylan Cease is a good pitcher, but I don't think he's a great pitcher. I don't think he's an ace. I don't think he's that guy. Maybe he becomes that guy with like the Baltimore Orioles, or maybe he becomes that guy with Matt Blake. But Ethan Katz is a pretty smart pitching coach. I know the White Sox are pretty stupid. I get it. But he's a pretty smart guy. He kind of knows what he's doing. I know that, he's not perfect, and I think Matt Blake is a better coach than he is. But, end of the day, I don't think that Dylan Cease's problems are like, hey, his stuff isn't good enough. It's he lost a tick on his fastball. He, didn't react well to the pitch clock. He struggles with pitch deep into games, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are issues that go beyond pitching development. I think that has more to do with the player himself. Not saying he has a bad work ethic or not saying he doesn't care enough. Just saying that's a flaw that I don't know he can overcome, and he'll have to prove it. That's more of a him. Like, he has to work on that. I'm not sure if there's a pitching coach that can just unlock that for him. Starting to get antsy. John, I hear you, but I think we should wait for the market to play out before we get too antsy. I think we should stick with who we have, maybe add one guy. I don't know. I don't want to pay wash pitchers in 3 years. Who is someone you think we can get that won't cost an arm and a leg? Simon to go, I actually agree with kind of with the idea of, the Yankees shouldn't overpay guys just to say they went all in. And personally, I think Will Warren is a solid 5th starter, but they would need to get insurance. I would love to add Robert Stevenson. I would love to add a guy like Sean Manaea in the back end to kind of be, the swingman 6th starter kind of guy. Really nasty after adding a sweeper. Is adding a splitter and drive line, added some velo, pretty good arm. I don't know if the interest for the Yankees is high on him. We haven't heard any connections between the Yankees and Sean Manaea, but I would imagine that's a really good fit for them. If they could go out and get Sean Manaea, I think they're getting a guy who's an above average major league starter and is an even better major league reliever and can do both for you. Swingman role kind of gives you insurance. And you kind of you can kind of wait and see until the deadline comes around to figure out what you're going to do. Warren will be in the rotation. We'll see, man. Give me Monty, Hicks, Bieber, and Gio Urshela, and F it, give me Burns. Again, basically you're asking the team to spend like $60-70 million. And that's not happening. They just took in like $50 million in trade payroll. It's more like, let's think. Soto's 33, Grisham's about $5 million, Verdugo's about $9 million. So 50 is a little high. It's closer to about 47, if I'm not mistaken. 50 isn't exactly the number, but it's close enough to it. You add 70 million on top of that. If you go from $70 million, the Yankees would be running a $350 million payroll. I don't think Hal Steinbrenner is running a $350 million payroll in 2024. That's my opinion on it. I think that would be the highest payroll of all time. I don't think they're doing it. So yeah. Hey Ryan, I fell out of my chair when I found that you're 19 years old. Yuki Matsui, I am 19 years old. That is true. I would pull out my state ID, but it has my address on it, and I don't want to get doxxed. This is 1000% hypothetical. Say Bellinger goes, I want 3 years, 150 million. Would you do it? Again, kind of referring back to what I said about the international free agent class, the fact that you're going to have, a guy like Roki Sasaki potentially hitting the market next year. And look, I know the Dodgers might go out and get the guy, but you can't throw away a chance to get him. You can't throw away a chance to get Roki Sasaki. I think he's an excellent player. I think that he's an excellent pitcher. I think he's a talented pitcher. I think he's the type of pitcher that the Yankees would add to their rotation, and they could do so for very cheap. And, if you start building together that rotation, you see a guy like Chase Hampton flying through the system. You've got a guy like Will Warren coming up. You start looking at what that rotation could be. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Roki Sasaki, Chase Hampton, Will Warren. Now you've got a young, nasty rotation, low cost. It allows you to make other moves in free agency to bolster your offense. You've got some money coming off the books in Verdugo, obviously when his contract is up at the end of the year. Torres has $50 million that will come off the books. Potentially, maybe the Yankees re-sign him now that they don't have the money tied up to Yamamoto. And in the idea that they would sign a Roki Sasaki and don't need to go out and pay big bucks for a starting pitcher, it would certainly be a huge win. So I don't want to throw that away for Cody Bellinger because I'm not sure Cody Bellinger is that type of impact player. And over $150 million is a $50 million luxury tax hit. That's more than Shohei Ohtani. Like, that's a ridiculous luxury tax hit. It's just not happening for me. And yeah, like that's it is what it is. Like, that's just how I view it. I just don't think the New York Yankees would give him $50 million a year. Matt Chapman is a bit overrated, IMO. Elite defense, defense, solid base runner, kind of a mid hitter. Yeah, but you know what? In this market, he's going to end up getting a lot of money somehow, which is pretty crazy. Did you see the pics of Giancarlo Stanton leaner? Yeah, so that's a weird picture because, like, he looks a lot leaner. Now, I don't know if I'm getting, like, if that's just, like, placebo, like somebody saying, hey, he looks leaner, and so it makes him look leaner, or if he's actually leaner, but he does look different. The body composition looks different. He looks a little smaller. Maybe he goes into 2024 and he's a little bit lighter. I don't think he's going to be sprinting around the bases like a madman. And I don't think he's going to be, hitting for no power. But I do think that he's going to be a more athletic version of himself. He has to be more athletic. He has to be less injury prone. Perhaps it allows him to hit the ball a little, a little more squarely. Perhaps it allows him to, get his swing back in place. We'll see. But he'll have to make big adjustments next year. And maybe these are one of those. The Red Sox have been the who want me 100% no meme. Yeah, nobody's gone there. And most notably, John Henry has not spent. So that's a big issue for them. What will the Yankees be willing to pay for Imanaga? I'm not sure. He has to be signed in the next 9 days. So I'm not really sure what the New York Yankees are going to do with Imanaga. I don't think they're going to be an aggressive bidder. He's apparently going to move with the San Francisco Giants. I can see him going there. It's a good fit. Fly ball pitcher, San Francisco. That just makes a lot of sense, right? And if you're the Giants, now you have Webb, Cobb, Imanaga. That's a good start. You're going to slide in Kyle Harrison at some point into that rotation. They have Ross Stripling and Anthony DeSclafani that I imagine will be bullpen swingman type starter guys. But I think the Giants make a lot of sense for Imanaga, if I'm going to be honest with you. I agree. I don't think DJ LeMahieu bounce back is impossible, but let's say he's having a bounce back 2024. He still missed 2 straight playoffs because of poorly timed injuries. Absolutely. This is it's undisputable. The guy has not stayed on the field completely healthy for the New York Yankees the last few years. And we can't sit here and bank on him to be healthy next year. Like, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic, it's unrealistic. It's not a realistic ask. And I just don't think that the New York Yankees can rely on him to be back in the postseason next year after playing 160 games. I think that what they could do is potentially look into the trade market and find a third baseman. And that's fine. But I don't know. I just think that the New York Yankees are going to have to be a little bit careful with what they do at third base. So, yeah, let's see. Praz is kind of in the same situation as Florial, but we need to trade him. Yeah, I think he has value unlike Florial. I'd agree. I think this is a perfect expression of what this is. You know what I mean? So yeah. Shota Imanaga's posting deadline is actually very soon. We haven't heard. Yeah, it's extremely soon. Very soon. Can't believe the Yankees said Can't believe it. Yankees said Yankees get Shane Bieber and Jordan Hicks, and very soon, maybe tomorrow, next days. Happy New Year, Ryan. Nelson Cruz, I appreciate you stopping by. I don't think that the New York Yankees are going to get like super spend heavy, but I could totally see this. You know what I mean? I could 100% see this. I could see this being what the Yankees do. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Yankees. And I don't really think it's crazy to say this is realistic. It's pretty realistic. They would be adding like $25 million max to the luxury tax. That's how I view it. Like it's a very realistic ask. It's a very realistic ask, So there's that. Rodon is going to bounce. He's not going to leave. Oh, you mean bounce back? Bounce back. Nestor will be solid again. I agree. Bieber and Hicks cut at the deadline. Soto next year. Literal chills. I'd be so down for this. I love Mitch Keller. I was interested in bringing back Frankie Montas, but I wouldn't have given him $14 million. I would have given him between $8 and $10 million. I would say, look, I don't want to sit here and say that the Yankees dodged a bullet with Frankie Montas. I actually like this signing for the Cincinnati Reds, but the Yankees needed security in their rotation. And I don't think Montas provided security. I think he provided depth. You needed, I think, Montas to go along with somebody. Now, if you said, all right, Montas at $8 to $10 million, and then they supercharged their bullpen, I would have been cool with that too. But if you do $60 million from Montas, I don't know if they were going to do $12 million for Minaya and then a reliever. I'm not sure what the Yankees are going to do in free agency. I think they're going to go sign a reliever. I would hope they're going to sign a reliever. I would imagine they're not going to just go into the 2024 season without any additions to their pitching staff. But I also don't feel as if the New York Yankees are going to make a splash in free agency. I think they're going to sign some good pitchers, but nobody that's like a 6-7 year deal. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's that. Let's see. Luis Gil should be stretched out like a starting pitcher. He can go 1 to 3 innings out of the bullpen. And that's why I think he should be in AAA so that the Yankees can let him start. Because if he's just in the bullpen, there's no opportunity for him to start. Like, there's not that the guys aren't going to get hurt, but the Yankees aren't going to pitch him 5 innings every start. In AAA, you just say, all right, bud, just get stretched out, get comfortable, figure it out, right? You can do that in AAA. Now, that run environment's very unforgiving. And it was very unforgiving last year. I wonder what they're going to do with the rule situation because I think it was unplayable. I really don't think you can have AAA play the same way as it did last year. Horrible for evaluations, terrible for baseball, just not good. Like, there are a lot of talented evaluators who were thrown off by what happened last year. I just don't think that the New York Yankees should be viewed as a team that, has open spots for just, hey, Luis Gil, here's 5 innings, especially in the situation they're in right now with their contention window. I think they'd be more willing to go for Will Warren as a starter. So I think that Luis Gil should start out in AAA. And if they're going to go with the rookie to start in their staff, my only acceptable answer would be Will Warren. Anybody else, and it's not acceptable and it's not good enough for me. Let's see. Do you think Ron Marinaccio makes the opening day roster? So I'm going to check Ron Marinaccio's option situation right now. I believe he was a late addition to the 40-man roster. So yes, he still has one. He can open the season off the 40-man, which is huge. And he did finish the year last year with a 3.99 ERA. It was a disaster towards the end, but it wasn't like he was god-awful. He was just not good down the stretch. He was bad, but he wasn't god-awful. He's salvageable, I guess is what I'm going to say. The stuff is good. The velo took a hit, which is concerning. Maybe it was an injury thing. Maybe it was fatigue. I still believe in him to be a pretty good pitcher. AAA numbers were not pretty, but AAA was horrible. AAA was legitimately terrible. AAA was a terrible, terrible place to try to pitch. But I do think that there's a chance he can earn a spot on the opening day roster. I don't think he will. I think he'll open the season back in AAA, but I do think we could see him down the road at some point in 2024, because I think he's a good pitcher, and I'm excited to see how he works his way back. So there's that. I know Burns may not be possible for the Yankees anyway, but if your trade were to happen, what would your proposal be like? So if you didn't see my video, I proposed like Hampton, Peraza, Rice, and I believe I proposed Vivas. And I don't think that gets it done. I think that gets a conversation started. But if you're talking about convincing, like you don't like the Padres weren't convinced to trade Juan Soto. They had to trade Juan Soto. Whereas the Brewers would have to be convinced to trade Corbin Burns. I think that a convincing offer versus you have to trade this guy, here's our first offer type of offer, they're two different things. The Yankees wouldn't be able to convince the Brewers with just that offer right now because the Brewers don't have to trade him. Now, at the deadline, if that is the best offer on the table, yeah, the Brewers are going to take it because they would like to get something back, assuming that they're not very good. Now, if they are good, they're just going to hold on to him. But end of the day, I think the Yankees right now would have to offer a lot, an uncomfortable package, a package that you guys would not want to part ways with. And that's because the Brewers would have to be convinced to trade Corbin Burns, and they're not probably right now. Let's see. Masahiro Tanaka coming back would be crazy. He's not coming back. He was not very good in the MPB last year. His stuff is declining. He's older. Cool dude. Great Yankee. It's just not going to happen. Start one, cut one. Will Warren, Chase Hampton. So Chase Hampton's clearly the better pitching prospect, in my opinion. He is a better pitching prospect than Will Warren. I don't think that's really a debate. But if you ask me who's better right now, like who's more major league ready, obviously I think that question might lie with Will Warren. Though Chase Hampton is not far off from that. Like his stuff is damn good. Like his stuff is wicked. His stuff is that good, right? And when your stuff is really good, if you just know what the strike zone is, you can compete. Will Warren's stuff is really good, and he has good enough command that he can compete at the major league level. So, I think that, again, Chase Hampton is the better pitcher. He's a better prospect, but I think Will Warren obviously is more major league ready because he's a little bit more further along in his development. Just logged in. I missed a potential Luis Castillo chat? No, we did not talk about Luis Castillo. Imanaga isn't worth signing whatsoever. I disagree. I think that there is some value in signing him, but I don't think it's the Yankees' value, and I don't think it's worth, nearly $100 million. So, yeah. Like, I think it's like the Giants would be really smart if they signed him. The Yankees would be taking a gamble. So, yeah. We get Shane Bieber, then we bolster the bullpen with signings and trades, maybe. I'd be down for that. Is it a good idea for an MLB team to give Brandon Woodruff a 2-year, $2 million contract? Well, yeah, 2 years, $2 million. Like, I think his elbow is fried, or shoulder is fried, excuse me. But, that's basically a reliever contract. You give a guy, like, if he even was like a comp, if he made if he threw 60 innings in year 2 out of the bullpen and gave you like a 3.5 ERA, it's a win, right? Like, that's a win of a contract. You got surplus of $2 million in WAR value. And if he's a league average starter, like if he's like, what Noah Syndergaard was in 2022, he's also surplus $2 million because he's going to give you, let's say 140 innings, even like 130. And he's like a slightly below average starter. Like even that would be worth $2 million. If the Yankees had a chance to sign him at 2 years, $2 million, I would say they should do it. Like I am not high on him. I don't think that the New York Yankees are going to I really don't think, that the Yankees are going to give him a contract, and I don't think that he's going to bounce back. But yeah, no Bieber hurt. Everybody has injury issues, so there's not really a guy. There's just not a guy you're going to find that doesn't. I feel like at this point, and I don't think he's going to cost a lot. Now, if you're saying, if the Guardians ask the Yankees for like Chase Hampton or Will Warren, I'm like, no, it's not happening. But if they ask for like Everson Pereira, I'm saying yes, because that's a surplus to me. I'm saying yes, and I'm not even really thinking about it. We shy away from the fact that in healthy Carlos Rodon, he was a top 5 pitcher literally a year ago. Literally Cy Young Cole and very elite Rodon is still something that's very possible. I agree. And that's why I'm like, hey, if Will Warren's your 5th starter, as long as Carlos Rodon is good, who really cares, right? Like, who cares? Who gives a shit, right? Like, who cares? I know that's simplistic. I know that's very assumptive. But you kind of have to assume Rodon's going to be good next year because if he isn't, it doesn't matter who you bring in. You're not going to be very good. So, yeah, there's that. Like, I don't think the Yankees can, I don't think the Yankees can sit here and say that like they're not banking on Carlos Rodon to be good next year because they are, and they're not going to be very shy about it. And you guys can hate it. You guys can be upset about it. You guys can say, oh, but they shouldn't rely. They shouldn't rely on, Carlos Rodon. But it's fine. That's their guy. Like, that's who they paid. His stuff plus numbers are excellent. It's just a command thing, and I'm fine. Like I'm really, it's fine. You know, like it's really fine. That's really how I view it. Would you decide the entire year, Trevor? Yeah, that's why it's a 2-year deal. Dodgers did the same with Canley. Yep. If Rodon fails, please nobody give him any excuses. Yeah, if he sucks next year, I'm out on him. Like I'll be like, hey, anything you get from him is a plus. You have to look at him as a back of the rotation, just ineffective starter. And that's certainly possible, right? Like it's certainly possible. Like it's certainly possible that that's what the Yankees end like that happens. Like he could get hurt next year and it's a disaster, but it hasn't happened. Like that has not happened yet. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say it's happened, that he's a disaster already. We've seen guys like Yu Darvish is probably the best example of this. I'm going to search up his exact numbers right now. But Yu Darvish was a guy who previously had Tommy John surgery. I'm not saying they're the same caliber of pitcher in terms of health, but, you know, entering his free agent contract, you know, he had pitched 100 innings in 2016, 144 in 2014. Signs with the Cubs, you know, goes 40 innings, terrible in those 40 innings, 4.95 ERA, 124 ERA minus. Gives up a 1.58 home run per 9. The year after, he's very like, okay, he's not great. He strikes out a lot of guys, but he still struggles with the long ball. And then the year after, he was really good. The first year with the Padres, meh. Second year with the Padres, really good. Like, sometimes these contracts don't work out the way you want them to. Right now, he's off to a bad start, but like, if I got like an 85 ERA minus and 29 starts out of Carlos Rodon next year, that's a good 2-starter. Like, I'm happy with it. And the upside is clearly much more. Like, his stuff is really damn good. So, you know, we can see, like, there are guys who've had bad starts to their contract and have kind of figured it out after. I'm not sure if there are any examples you guys remember, but I'm not out on Rodon yet. Not out on him yet. I'm going to try to think of examples, though. We need to win this year and contend, or Soto will walk. They just need to make the playoffs, probably, and Soto will, like, entertain going back to New York. I mean, if you're going to say he's going to walk, where would he walk to? Like, the Mets, who are not going to make the playoffs this year and didn't make it last year and they have not won a playoff series since 2015, like since Barack Obama was in office. The Red Sox, right? Like, are the Red Sox to be very good? Does he sign with the Phillies? Like, do the Phillies offer him $500 million? I'm not sure. You know, I'm not saying the Yankees are like going to be the only team that gets Soto, but if we're talking about like winning as an incentive, the teams that are going to have the most money to offer him on the East Coast, or the teams that are going to be the most aggressive in the East Coast, are not the winningest teams. Those are the Mets and those are the Red Sox. So, yeah. If we have another miserable year, you can't expect them to stay. I'm not saying I expect them to stay if we're bad. I'm just saying, you know, it's like other teams. It's not like, you know, we're talking about, all right, the New York Mets just came off of winning the World Series. You know, yeah. There's that. I don't think Montas was a bullet dodge by Yankees. I wasn't implying that you were. I just like I feel like sometimes I speak very much in like hyperbole where I'm like, you know, yeah, it's a fucking steal, man. Oh yeah, this like I don't want to be like so reactionary in that regard. But I didn't really feel like the Yankees for $16 million should be going the Frankie Montas route. That's more money than you would have to take to your luxury tax if you had signed, you know, even a guy like if you had gone out and acquired a guy like, you know, Shane Bieber, who's $12 million for luxury tax. Or to sign a Sean Manaea, who like I don't know is going to be that much worse than Frankie Montas. So yeah, like that's kind of the way I view it. That Weaver dude should come back, play, squeak success out of him. Look, if he signed for like $2 million, sure, I'd love it. $2 million, you know, I don't know. Like I don't know if I can guarantee him a major league spot, which is kind of the issue here. Is he like good enough to be in your bullpen next year? I don't know. Is he good enough to be in your rotation next year to open the year? Absolutely not. And is he going to sign a minor league contract? I would say no. Like, the same way that you would say, hey, this guy, you know, they got some success out of him. He's probably like, hey guys, I wasn't terrible. Like, I'm not a terrible flyer to take. Just give me $1 million. Like, I don't want to be a minor league guy. I think that's fair. Like, I think he would ask for a major league contract and get one. So, you know, that's how I view it. I think he could ask for a major league contract and get one. Whereas I don't think that the New York Yankees can offer a major league contract because I just don't see them giving him a major league roster spot opening day. Like, unless something goes catastrophic, like if everything goes to plan, he should not open the season with them. That's the way I look at it. Marnacho's problem was the homers. If he can fix that and return some similar production in 2020, that'd be huge for the Yankees. Absolutely. He's another high leverage option, and he's cheap, and he's young, and he's controllable, and he can flip him at the deadline if you want to. So, yeah. By the way, if any relievers do really well, you should at least consider flipping them. Like, I'm not saying you should go out and flip Ian Hamilton because he was good last year, but you should probably say, all right, Ian Hamilton was good. What are teams looking for him, right? Like, I think Yankees should always be proactive in the trade market, trading away relievers because I think they have a lot of reliever depth. And I think that they should look at it as an opportunity to get position players that they need. Andrew Dang goes, Are the Blue Jays a threat to us? Can we win the division title again this year? The Blue Jays are a good team. The Blue Jays are a good team, and they were better than us last year. I think that they've made, not improvements, but they've, made some, I think Kevin Kiermaier is a solid signing. They look like they're going to get Yariel Rodriguez. I like that addition for them. Their fifth starter spot's a little bit up in the air. Looking at the projected standings for 2024, they are kind of right behind the New York Yankees. It's the Yankees, so it's the Braves, Dodgers, Astros. That doesn't sound like that makes sense. Then it's the Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays. Then it's the Phillies, Cardinals, and Twins. And those are your top 10 teams. And the Mariners are number 10. Those are your top 10 teams according to Fangraphs. Now, I would slot the Orioles as the number 1 team or as the number 2 team. I think they're really good. I like their offense. I love Gray Rod. I think that Kyle Bradish is really good and underrated. Dean Kramer is average. John Means is average. And that's kind of enough to put a rotation around. That's a lot of structure, actually. That's a pretty good spot to be in if you're the Baltimore Orioles. A lot of upside there. Lot to like. The question obviously is their bullpen. They lost Felix Bautista, and their bullpen is going to be a little suspect, but they did add Craig Kimbrell, who is, an above average major league reliever. And I love Yonder Cano. I love the bullpen that they have. I love all the pitching development stuff that they've been able to do. They're a smart team. Their offense, again, is really damn good. Their offense is projected to be one of the better ones in baseball. Pitching staff, not so much, but I think the offense is going to do enough. I think that they have enough total value on their roster where they'll squeak into, being a really good team. And of course, they have a lot of young talent they could bring up next year. Could we see an extended sample size of Jackson Holliday next year? Yeah, I think we could. I think we could see him at shortstop even. I think we could see, Jackson Holliday at short, Gunnar Henderson at third, Jordan Westberg at second. I don't know what they do at first base. Ryan O'Hearn was pretty good for them last year. Maybe they run it back with that. Ryan Mountcastle is another guy who's kind of always been there, but he's kind of been hurt by the fact that he plays in Baltimore. I actually like Ryan Mountcastle as as a guy who could get better if he wasn't playing in Baltimore. That right field is unforgiving for him. It's just not a good thing for him. That right field is brutal for him. He's cut down the swinging strikes. He's a pretty interesting player. His glove at first base has been solid. He's gotten better in that regard over the years. And if you look at his away stats, his away stats, I think, are pretty dramatic. No, they're not. I mean, he's better on the road the last year, but not by a significant amount. I do think he would be better suited for a ballpark like Fenway or something like that. I don't think or even Tampa Bay. Just Dodger Stadium would be great for him. He's just not a guy that profiles well for Camden Yards. But that is a good team. It's a really good team. It's a team that I think has a lot of upside, and so I'm never going to write them off. And then of course, there are teams like the Rays that are still, really good. The Red Sox, not so concerned about, but yeah, I think the Blue Jays are a threat. I think that the Yankees have a chance to win the division. They're projected to win the division, but I don't think they're heavy favorites or anything like that. Ben Rice and Spencer Jones look like they can be great ball players. I think they're going to be really nice ball players. Now Jones, I believe in way more than a guy like Rice because he plays center field. I don't think that's irrational. I think that's a pretty fair take. But Ben Rice has a really good bat. The bat's really good. The power's really good. The swing decisions are really good. There's a lot to like here. So, I'm ultimately pretty excited about what he can be in 2020, in 2024. I think he can get some plate appearances next year. I think he can, fight for a roster spot during the season. And then Spencer Jones, excellent defensive player. I think he's a really, really, really strong defender out there. Great athlete, great speed, great base runner. And the bat is good enough. I think the bat is going to be good enough where he'll end up with he'll end up with one of the, better profiles. I think we'll end up with one of the better all-around profiles in the Yankee organization. So there's that. John Henry even tried spending money on a soccer team, Liverpool. Apparently they're after Kylian Mbappe, and I'm not a soccer fan, but if you're a soccer fan, Mbappe is one of the best players in the world. So yeah, I guess they're trying. If Hampton's called up, do you think he would be a starter here or a reliever? Starter, 100%. They would call him up to start. He is a great, great starting pitcher. I think he'll be excellent. Definitely not a guy you give up on as a starter without even he had 1 year of minor league experience. He was pretty good. So yeah, that's how I view it. Didn't Burns say he's not going to sign an extension? Yeah, he's not signing extension publicly. He mentioned that. He said he has to be blown away. And so I don't think he's going to be blown away by an offer. And yeah, that's how I view it. I just don't think he's going to be blown away by an offer. And I think that the New York Yankees are going to end up not trading for him. And even if they did, I don't think they're going to extend him. So, yeah, that's how it is. Yes, Joe, you said, yeah, that's exactly. You think playoff talk would be down to be on the next live stream? I haven't really asked him about it. I'm not gonna be like, hey, dude, you should come on a live stream. He's got his own life, it's doing well. Hope we talk every now and then. So yeah, like I'm not gonna sit. That hasn't really been a conversation, but if he's down, I'd love to. But yeah, it's my guy though. I love him. Love Gabe. Great guy. Let's see. Do you think the Yankees would be a good Marcus Stroman would be a good fit with the Yankees? Look, as a pitcher, like just purely looking at the profile, the cost, he would make a lot of sense for the New York Yankees. But we're not signing him. It's not happening. It's just not happening, guys. It's not happening. There's so much wrong with. There's just so much I don't like about Marcus Stroman. There's so much I don't like about how he would be in New York. We've already seen him in New York. We've already seen how ugly he can get if, the tenure doesn't end well. Is he a good pitcher? Yes. Would the Yankees be better with him? Yes. Should the Yankees, do their legwork on him? Yes. But I don't know. Like, he's not necessarily the most durable guy in the world either. Like, he ended last year with a shoulder injury, and he looked pretty ugly after the shoulder injury. He was roughed up at the end of the season. He got crushed. He got smoked. He was a guy that I thought was going to garner a lot of value at the trade market if the Cubs were out of it. He was a guy I would have been down for the Yankees to go out and acquire. But there's just some off-field stuff where it's like, and then there's just a lot to not love here. Swinging strike rate, not great. Ground ball rate's great. He prevents a lot of damage contact, but I don't know. Doesn't have great command, walks too many guys for me. Is he going to be a good pitcher next year? Yes. Should he be on the New York Yankees? No. Are the New York Yankees going to sign him? No. Yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with this. I don't know. I would be down for it if he just wasn't such a character off the field, I feel like. And if he didn't, have that situation with Brian Cashman. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's no bad blood. I'm pretty sure there's a public quote about them not having bad blood. But, yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's a good pitcher. I just don't see it happening, folks. That's just my opinion on it, though. Moving on a little bit here. Offseason gives me signed the big ticket last year, aka Rodon, and then don't do anything after. Even after our ownership says we'll be very active. Well, I think the difference is Juan Soto is so much better at baseball than Carlos Rodon is that I'm fine with them saying, hey, we didn't get Yamamoto. He was going to be a Dodger. We're just going to go get some depth for the rotation. They got Verdugo. They got Grisham. They supercharged that outfield, which I'm happy with. I would like to see them add a starter. I don't think they're going to. But, I can't really blame them for it. I can't really blame them for not getting Yamamoto. It seemed like he wanted to be a Dodger. It's unfortunate, but yeah, that's how I view it. That's how I view it. I don't think it's over yet. I think we should give it some time, Trade for Bieber is a must if you can get him for Everson Pereira and sign Jordan Hicks to see where we're at the deadline. Tony Stevens, I agree. Again, that would be an A+ offseason for me. I think we can see Jackson Holiday on opening day. I agree. Why do people want Gio Urshela when you have two younger possibilities? Because I don't think the Yankees like Peralta all that much. That mock trade Bleacher Report came out with better not ever happen. I want Martian, Spencer Jones, and Judge Jones, then Judge and Soto going back and forth between right field and DH. I agree. I think that Spencer Jones should be the center fielder of the future. But we'll see. Yes, they're obviously earned that. I want to take the time to say I love my horse. The Yankees got to me. Don't matter what other teams got. I agree. I love Juan Soto. Juan Soto's my guy. And we got Juan Soto, and I really can't be mad about it. Jose Vasquez goes, trade boneheaded Torres, move weak arm Volpe to second, and start strong. Torres is a good hitter, man. Torres is too good of a hitter. We've got to stop pretending like he's not good at baseball. We really have to stop pretending like this is some shitter. We have to stop pretending this is not a clearly good baseball player. This is a clearly good hitter. This is a clearly really good hitter. And it's kind of disingenuous for us to sit here and pretend like he's not. He's a good hitter, guys. There's a reason why, there's a reason why the Yankees have him. There's a reason why he puts up big numbers. And that's because he's a good player. So I don't really love the idea of like saying, all right, let's get rid of him. Like the Yankees aren't in that position to say we can get rid of good hitters. So yeah, I'm not really in the market of doing that. So yeah. Since joining the Yankees, Clay Holmes has much better numbers than Josh Hader. How much is he getting for agency? That's a good question. I don't know how much he gets for agency. I'd imagine it would be like similar to the Rafael Iglesias contract. He got like $15 million a year. I think that'd be fine for the Yankees. So, I think that the New York Yankees aren't going to give him that type of money. I don't think they should give him that kind of money. So yeah, like I don't think he's gonna be back after next year. Even though I love Clay Holmes, I just don't think they're gonna, I just don't think the New York Yankees are in the market of giving him big time money or giving any reliever big time money. Let's see. Speaking of Chase Hampton, I know you're speaking of Chase Hampton. I don't think he's going to start the season with the team, to clarify. I think he'll start out in like AA or AAA and then work his way up. And if the Yankees debut him, it'll be as a starting pitcher. I don't think they're going to go, here's a bullpen role. I think Will Warren's better suited for that. Yoendrys Gomez, Luis Heel, Clayton Beeter are all, those three guys are more suited for that. Will Warren, they might not start him the second they roster him. Whereas like, I think it's more 50-50 on that regard. But Beeter, Gomez, Hale, all on the 40-man, all guys they can call up at any point in time to give them reliever innings. I think that's what they would do before, opening, first off, you have to start a service clock. But, you have to open it. You got to start a service clock, and that kind of hurts you a little bit. So if you bring him up, you've got to start him. That's my take on it. I love the idea of Edward Cabrera, years of control for a young arm, and we don't have to give as much as Luzardo. If they can make him better, sure, but I don't know if they can make the command problems go away, and I don't know if they can make the injury problems go away. Those are two big question marks, right? Like he's projected, he's a good starter. He was a good starter last year, but he's not very durable, and he doesn't pitch deep into games because of how bad his command is. If you got something closer to his 2022 strikeout to walk rates with his 2023 ground ball rates, that's great, but that doesn't seem like that's feasible necessarily. Like I don't really know what his game plan is for like getting better and improving improving the walk rates. Look, I think he's a talented pitcher. I think he's a pitcher who has a lot to gain from, getting consistent reps, and he's got a lot to learn in the major leagues. But, I just don't think that the New York Yankees are going to be able to leave him in the fifth starter spot and get consistently good innings out of him. And that's what I'm concerned about. Could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong if the Yankees get him and he does. I hope he does really well. And even if we don't, I hope he does really well because Miami's sick. And yeah, so there's that, that's how I view it. Moving on a little bit. Rotation's too thin not to add, and the list is getting shorter and shorter. I'm ready for cash when we tried, but the price weren't right speech. Joe, the prices really aren't great, which is kind of it's unfortunate because it's kind of true. Like the prices just are not great. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I don't know. Like that's how I view it. The Torres hate train is dumb. I agree. Do you think the Yankees get Shane Bieber? I don't know. I don't know. I don't. It's sad nowadays that 270 average and 230 OBP is considered above average hitter. Well, yeah, pitchers are better than they've ever been. Like, do you know how hard it is to hit like Edward Cabrera is not a great pitcher. He's a good pitcher. He's a solid pitcher. Do you know how hard it is to hit him? It's extremely hard to hit him. And that also leaves out your slugging percentage. If you're slugging 500, that's an 830 OPS. That should always be a good hitter. Pitchers are better than they've ever been. Averages are down due to better defensive positioning and better pitching. It's harder to hit now than it's ever been, and stringing together hits just isn't as viable as trying to go out and sell it for power. So there's that as well. Let's see. No one can deny Torres is a good player, but let's not make him out to be Cano 2.0. I'm not saying he's Cano. I'm just saying he's a good player, and the Yankees need to have good hitters in their lineup. Do you think Jason Dominguez is going to be back by June? I'm going to lean no. I'm going to say July. I'll say July. If you could extend Burns, do trade Jones or Hampton. Burns and Cole. Man. I'd say Jones, no. Hampton, maybe. Maybe Hampton and like a couple of more guys. But if you get to extend Burns, sure. But he's not going to extend because he's a Scott Boras client. So that's why I haven't really thought about it. All I can think about right now is the Yankees are going to end up with one starting pitcher and one reliever and let Clark be the fifth starter. I'd be down with that. If they get a guy who's better than Clark Schmidt, that's a win. And yeah, if they get a guy who's better than Clark Schmidt, they have objectively gotten better and they're fine in the rotation. And if they add a reliever, they're fine in the bullpen. And they're already fine in the bullpen. It just makes them a lot better. As we get closer to the hour here, we're going to start wrapping things up. So if you guys have not done so already, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Take in your final questions. Going to go live tomorrow again, so don't worry. This is not the only live stream we're going to do. We're going to try to get some other guys from the Fireside crew on. We're going to see if we can get Sam on, guys like Aiden. We'll Dylan as well. Like, we want to get everybody mixed in. Holidays are still a little weird, so there's still a lot of people scrambled around. And I happen to be a degenerate, so there's that. This is interesting. Gleyber Torres was age 22 to age 26 seasons, 115 WRC plus, 11.4 F WAR. Cano ages 22 to age 26 seasons. Wow, I didn't actually know that. Wow, I was not aware of this. Look, I think that the issue is that, like, Torres obviously doesn't have the peaks that Cano has, but people do forget that Cano, like, it took him a few years to become a star. He was a good player, but it took a while for star to happen, right? Like, he wasn't you're right. Like, he didn't really become an above 6 WAR player. His age 27 season is when he became a 6 WAR player for the first time. And he was now he did have a 4.7 WAR in 2007, but it came with a 119 WRC plus. He broke out in his age 27 season. Gleyber Torres is entering his age 28 season. Is that breakout there for Gleyber? Maybe, right? Like, maybe he hits his stride. Maybe he finds his peak. Maybe he finds his swing. Maybe everything clicks and he's that guy next year. You see a similar thing where, the Gleyber Torres has figured out the plate discipline, and we saw him have a really good second half. This is the best his plate discipline's ever looked. Maybe the game power looks really good to end the season. So there's that. I don't think Gleyber's already peaked. He cut his strikeout rate down by 7% this year. Like, 7% is 8%, excuse me. That's a huge margin. And the power didn't get significantly worse. So I think there's a world where he, improves the power numbers, where he hits like 30 home runs. He slugs around closer to 480. And yeah, he has that, like, good OBP, makes good swing decisions like he did last year, runs good contact rates, and puts up, like, a 130 WRC plus or 135 WRC plus. And obviously you want to keep that around for a while, So yeah, Cano at age 23 hit you have to understand too, at age 23, that's a 128 WRC plus. Like, the run environment back then was fucking nuts. The run environment was crazy. It's a 128 WRC plus. Gleyber put up a 123 this year, and as a peak of 125. I understand the average and OBP are nicer, but the run environment's completely different. The run environment back then was bonkers because of steroids. We don't really have that nowadays, so you have to adjust for the park environment. Do you think we'll sign Siri Soto long term, and do you think we'll sign Gleyber too? Soto, yes. Not sure about Gleyber. But yeah, so following your last few questions, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below about today's stream. Again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. We really appreciate you guys' support. Again, final questions. And we'll spin it back tomorrow with a little bit of a longer stream. Hopefully, something happens that's interesting. We're kind of entering the dead of the offseason. We're entering the point of the offseason where things are kind of boring. So yeah. Would you give Torres a $200 million next offseason? I wouldn't, and I don't think anybody else will. You think Murakami is the biggest free agent sign for the Yankees outside of Soto? If you're asking me if he's the most money they'll hand out to a player outside Juan Soto, maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's that type of prospect yet. Like, I got to see him rebound from last year. We got off to a really poor start. So that's how I view it. You think Gleyber could be a 40 home run hitter? No, I don't think he's going to hit 40 home runs. I think 35 is like the upper margins where I think that power is going to take you. But I think 30 is a reasonable number. So, yeah. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys know where to check me out at Ryan Garcia. You guys know to follow Fireside Yankees on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. Turn on notifications so you know next time we post. We've got you guys double uploads for the foreseeable future. We're going to be double uploading like crazy. So, yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a safe night and Happy New Year, guys. Peace out.